these last 5 years, 6 years, that we have seen a terrible, terrible change on this whole planet because of this massive, incredible experiment against humanity. It's actually forced people to come to terms with something that's not right. And an enormous number of people are now questioning, learning to question, to have the courage to question, say, something is wrong, something we need to do something about. Our planet is terribly out of balance, and we need to work together, all of us from different countries, different cultures, different modalities. I don't know whether you're doctors or whether you're professors or whether you're house mummies or whether you come because you're interested in the idea of natural medicine. I don't mind where you are or what level of society you are. We all need to work together as a matter of conscious, incredible conscious belief systems. Last time I wrote this PowerPoint, 1 in 4 people in the world are being affected or were affected by mental health. Now, what we can say is that all these statistics can be doubled. So if we say 1 in 10 children are autistic, 5 years ago, we now know that 1 in 3 children have special needs. Now, this is devastating. It's absolutely devastating. And really and truly, as a young mother to a little child, it's absolutely heartbreaking how lonely people are, how frightened they are. They don't know who to go to. They don't know who to turn to. The schools are saying if you don't put your children on drugs, they can't come to school. If you don't have that vaccine, you can't do this, you can't do that. And whilst a lot of parents are beginning to understand that there is something going badly wrong, they're still at a loss as to know what to do about it or who to turn to. And so this is one of the reasons why our work is so desperately important. We only have a small organization in Malaysia. And by a small organization, I have to say that I'm incredibly proud of you. My organization here, which has actually been held together by a remarkable family, Madam Yap and her wonderful daughter, who is my daughter too, my spiritual child, Moon, who have actually held Phytobiophysics together here over the last 35, 40 years. Without them, we would not have the organization that we have here. There are many people involved, people I really have grown to love, my Malaysian family. We always want this family to grow and grow and grow because we have a role to play. I have to tell you this, and I'm very proud of it. I'm a member of this organization, Doctors for COVID Ethics, and whilst many of these scientists are well aware of what's going wrong, they still do not have the wherewithal to put what is wrong right. That is something that I've been hailed and been renowned for, and that is that we do have answers. Simple, beautiful, powerful, energetic, yes. Flowers and plants, don't scoff. Flowers are the most powerful medicines on this planet. Our organization is independent. I am not a qualified medical doctor. It is very, very tragic that many, many, many of the people I've trained in the world are medical doctors, and they are restrained on every single level. They are told, you cannot say this, you cannot do that, you cannot inform your patients that this could possibly be the cause of your damage, your heart problems, your cancer. They're not allowed to. They get struck off. They get abused and told, muzzled, censored. So doctors today are in a very difficult position. I know because many of my colleagues are doctors, and they find this restraint very frightening. They're not able to research. They're told if they so much as open their mouths and say anything negative. The latest in the United Kingdom is that doctors are not allowed to say anything aggressive about the pharmaceutical society. If they do, they would instantly be held to account, taken to court and struck off. So they would lose their entire livelihood and their careers, which they've spent years and years studying, all because they want to help humanity. And I feel quite sorry for some doctors because of that same complicated situation. The advantage that we have, being an independent research organization, an independent institute, is that we do not have to be bullied by regulations. All we have to do is not make medical claims, but we don't, because we're not treating medical conditions. We're treating vibrational medicine. So there's a lot going on in the world, and how many children have mental health problems? We talk a little bit about autism and our babies being autistic and having serious special needs. But what about the youth of today? The shattering thing about our youth is that they also are struggling with the most appalling mental health. And in 2004, 1 in 10 children between the age of 5 and 15 in the United Kingdom were classified as having mental health disorders. This is horrific, because we now got something shattering, like 1 in every 3 children are either declared mentally unstable or they are on pharmaceutical, chemical, antidepressants. This is absolutely shattering, because mental health requires understanding. It requires an extraordinary amount of education to take these young people and to bring them back into the fold, bring them back into a security, to offer them an understanding of what a family should be, Saka, without stress. Saka as an extraordinary word, Saka meaning to enable our children to have everything that they need, like love, good food, family environments, good value, good education. I have a grandson who's 23. He started uni 5 years ago, and that was the year of COVID. And he was locked in a room with about 6 other students for 6 weeks, till eventually my son said, "This is a disgusting disgrace. I'm bringing him home." That whole first year of uni was destroyed. Every single other child in that group, and it was on antidepressants. And this is what they've done to our children. It's absolutely heartbreaking. Our youth today struggle. And then we've got this alarming rise in older people getting sicker and sicker, younger and younger. So we are squashed, the sandwich between elderly people who have terrible health problems, weird, bizarre health problems, the like of which we've never ever seen before, weird, complicated mental imbalances, complicated rogue cancers that are springing out of nowhere, and monkeypox, which we'll be talking about at great length during our course. And it's quite shattering that the middle layer are becoming carers. So instead of being wonderful young mothers and fathers with young people growing up beautifully, instead of having this incredible joy of, you know, your beautiful older family and the family unities and family groups, people are becoming carers to their elderly parents, carers to their husbands or wives, carers to their little children. And so the middle people in the middle, are they happy? Are they healthy? Not always. They're depressed, they're sad, they're lonely, and very much alone sometimes, because nobody to turn to. Being a mother of a sick child is harrowing, to say the least. Being a mother of a child who's autistic, who's never really going to have a full opportunity to have a life. Do you control those children with drugs? Do you actually give them antidepressants, Ritalin or whatever, so that they can function at school? So when they get home, they go wild? Or do you actually learn how to heal them? That's what we want to offer. We want to tell you that it is possible to rescue these children, to bring them back to humanity, to bring them back to health. And the earlier we start and the more aware we are, the more important it all becomes. So we must look around us. And I must tell you this is a very interesting thing. I've been coming to Malaysia now virtually every year for the last 30 odd years. And so I've witnessed something very intriguing. And that is that you've always been a great deal more healthy than we are in the West. You've always had this incredible natural environment. Your diet is so beautiful. Your vegetables are so delicious. Your fruit is so phenomenal. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about your fruit, because your fruit is medicine as well. Life-saving, absolutely astonishing. And, you know, we don't have that luxury in the West. You know, there's wonderful food, but I've witnessed things changing. Whereas I could say that you were at least 30 years behind in terms of your health was so much better. But as the years go by, I've noticed that that distance between the terrible traumas and ill health in the West, I'm beginning to notice that the ratio is getting smaller. And unfortunately, bringing COVID vaccines into the equation has been a catastrophe, an absolute catastrophe for many, many reasons. So we've witnessed this horrendous change in our environment, and it's speeding up aggressively. So I don't want to tell you a horror story. I want to tell you the good news. I want to explain to you that we have been working incredibly hard to produce ranges of formulas made from flowers gathered from mostly Malaysia and the Far East, and also United Kingdom. We do have a little role to play, but a lot of the remedies are made from your beautiful flowers here. Wow, wonderful. I mean, beautiful flowers. I mean, your flowers are so beautiful. Your fruit is so beautiful. Your climate's changing a little bit, I've noticed. It always used to be a little bit different. Yes, in 2019, we're seeing 1 in 4 people struggle with mental health. Now we're seeing actually 1 in 2. 25% of people in the world suffering with mental health problems, a vast majority of children and young adults. It's got to stop. We have to start thinking, what are we doing and what can we do to change things? So the tragedies are that we know there's a problem. And how are we going to fix it? Well, I think I've talked a lot about mental health, but let's just have a quick little look. What's causing it? Drugs, drug addiction, both prescription drugs, recreational drugs. I think doctors now are handing out maybe 5 or 6 drugs to every single patient because they know that something's terribly wrong and they don't know what to do about it. And they're told these are the drugs you need in order to support the heart problems. But those drugs do not make people better. They control the condition, but they do not make people better. We've got depression, which is at an all-time high. Now, depression is very, very interesting because there are many causes of depression. Some are just that we're sad, or that we're going through a tough time, or our marriage is breaking down, or our mothers and fathers are ill, or our husbands and wives are ill, or our children are ill, or we're just unhappy because we're lonely, or we're worried about certain things. But the really tragic thing is that most of the antidepressant drugs are what we call hydrochlorides, and they're sedatives. And when you take sedatives into your body starts to decline. Your heartbeat gets slower, you become hypoglycemic, you have low blood pressure, you feel very tired. A lot of people are very, very tired. And tiredness is something that's not really thought about. You know, when people say, what's wrong with you? And then they say, I'm terribly tired. I just simply can't get out of bed. My legs don't work. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. And if you're tired, then your body's not working correctly. And this has become a very, very serious problem. We've also seen a huge rise in suicide and suicidal tendencies, particularly amongst children. There are 2 causes for this, which are absolutely predominant. And one is the introduction of the vaccine called Gardasil Severix, which is the papilloma vaccine, which we know some of the side effects of that vaccine for children is serious mental health problems. And that brings out this extraordinary situation. I don't know whether this is happening in Malaysia, but certainly it's rife in England, where particularly amongst girls, where they're cutting themselves, self-harming. And self-harming is a very strange phenomenon. It's very weird, but it's getting more and more serious, even leading to suicide. We've had a highest level of suicide amongst youths, and particularly boys, which is very, very tragic indeed. Our children suffering with psychotic thoughts, voices, nightmares, weird thoughts. And of course, I'm sorry to say that there is a big contributory factor within our children's depression and our mental health problems, and that is this virtual reality relationships, where they're not making friends, touching, feeling, smelling, you know, just environmental relationships, because they're all on these phones. They're all on their phones, separate with a glass screen so that the relationships are visual, but they're not sensual. And this is so tragic because our sensory organs, the sight, the smell, the taste, the feel, the touch, all of these sensory organs are entirely related to our brains and our brain hormone pathways and our emotional stability. So it's really tragic that children are not just the fact that they are living in a virtual reality world, but also the things that they pick up. I mean, our children are being distorted and abused with the most appalling pornography. And even films, you know, you say, oh, mature themes, sexual content, violence, suitable for a 13-year-old. And it makes me feel sick. I mean, I'm 77, 78 next month, and I find it unbearable. I don't think it's suitable for a 77-year-old, let alone a child of 13. And it's very frightening that our children are being trained to be violent, trained to, you know, have violent, aggressive thoughts. And this is very serious indeed, especially amongst the children and the youths that are on the spectrum, if you like. They have very little ability to disseminate between what is right, what is wrong, what is shameful, what is aggressive. And because of this, we're seeing high levels of crime, shocking high levels of crime in the cities amongst the youth. And this is worrying. It's very, very disturbing. Children against children, young boys attacking young girls with sexual abuse. And again, not really understanding what is the right relationship and what is the wrong relationship. And then we have autism in its all glory, in its massive, massive levels of so difficult, because there is never one cause. There is never one thing that causes autism. It is so complicated. It is a range of complicated, imbalances that occur right from the very, very beginning. And we will look at that in a little while as well. So dementia is the other side of the scale. And to a certain extent, people with dementia and Alzheimer's are autistic. It's adult autism, whereas babies and little children who become autistic suffering with Alzheimer's, but it's children Alzheimer's. So it's one and the same, and it's all tied up with how the brain is malfunctioning. And then, of course, because society is so struggling at the moment, people are poor, they're broke. I mean, a lot of businesses crashed when people were going through all this COVID crisis that had devastating damage to society in very many ways, and that created terrible social dysfunction. So you can see our world needs help. It really seriously does need help. And I won't go into all of this. It's all very well to highlight the problems, but it's essential that we all work together to find solutions. And by that, I mean mothers and fathers and school teachers, parents, older people, younger people, people from all different walks of life. I'm proud to say that when I set up training courses, I have a mixture of people in my classroom. It could be a scientist, professor, sociologist, a psychologist, housewife. I don't mind who I train, because we all, every single one of us, need to start learning how to care for ourselves in a very different world, in a slightly different way. So our mission statement of our institute is quite simple, and it always has been, and it's to bring affordable and beneficial and ethical medicine to the people of the world, using our extraordinary planet, using our plants, and everything that is around us, in order to be able to learn new rules. And that includes how we eat, what we eat, and when we eat. Because eating is very, very important. You can turn your lifestyle into something extremely beneficial, or you can eat so badly that you actually turn your body to make it very ill.